This is a quick AAR for the No Kings Protest, 18 October 2025, Saturday. I and a few other militiamen went to do overwatch of one of these protests in our area again. Once again, it was happening near the place of business of someone that we know, and we were primarily doing it to protect them and their coworkers. Now, the militia that showed up, all of us were carrying non-lethal means on us during the protest. We had cans of pepper spray, and those of us who were trained how to use expandable batons or other types of non-lethal weapons, we had those with us also. I had an expandable baton inside my cargo pocket with a can of pepper spray inside my jacket pocket. We got into position before the group was set to rally. Now, we did have lethal means with us to defend ourselves if need be. We had firearms with ammunition, body armor, and we also had medics bags inside vehicles located near where we posted ourselves in overwatch of the protest. Now, approximately 30 minutes before the protest was began, that was when the people showing up to the protest were supposed to meet at the rally point. The rally point was a nearby park. Around that time, when that rally point was supposed to be getting occupied, everyone was supposed to be getting their instructions. That is when the advance party went to the protest location. We had a couple vehicles show up. The one closest to me, which actually is this vehicle here. That vehicle had 3 people inside. They were in their early 20s, no more than 24 years of age. You had a very fat woman with a very large nose ring. She seemed to be in charge. 2 guys that were basically little cucks or simps that were following around behind her. They were checking stuff out, make sure everything was okay. I heard the same thing was going on across the street at another location over the radio. Now, about 5 minutes after they showed up for the advance party, that is when this white van showed up. This white van is a surplus news van. It still had the decking up on top where you would set up cameras and that stuff, and it looked like it also had the mounts up on top where antennas could be hooked up to for sending out signals during a broadcast. There was no electronics equipment visible from my position on that van. No guarantee there wasn't some inside, but I didn't see any. Now, one person was in that van, and they offloaded chairs, signs, and flags. The flags they were offloading were not American flags. These were protest signs, or protest flags, such as your No Kings flags, Abolish ICE. The Democratic Party is the only, is the defenders of democracy, stupid crap like that. And then you had all kinds of nonsense on the flags. Now, before the protest showed up, you did have some people come in. Not many. At most, probably 10 to 20. And these were locals. Most of them were senior citizens. They were coming in, setting up lawn chairs, sitting down next to the roadway with their signs. Now, the time the protest began, or was scheduled to begin, that is when the main body started showing up. You had people coming in who clearly were locals. It was one vehicle after another, so they were driving up from the rally point, parking all in the same areas. They stayed in the same general locations for the most part. And of these, you had quite a few senior citizens again. The ones that weren't senior citizens, you had only at most a half dozen that were in their 20s. The rest of them were just, they were fucking brain dead. I mean, there's a few guys that showed up. They looked like they were old potheads, and There was a fairly sizable number of Karens in the group. You could see it. You could tell the way they were walking, the way they were carrying themselves, the haircuts and everything. These are women who are used to bossing everyone else around all the time and getting what they want. Now, there were a bunch of clowns like this showing up. Literal clowns. There were around 18 people wearing literal clown outfits and jester outfits. And you also had this guy here that are referred to as Cheeto Guy show up in an orange jumpsuit. He came with a fat chick wearing a pink muumuu. That is not a dress, it is a muumuu. And she was helping this guy getting his costume ready and that stuff. He pulled up the face mask so he looked like a giant fucking Cheeto. You can see Cheeto Guy over here holding a sign right next to one of the clowns. Now, we had about 5 minutes after the protest was supposed to begin, that's when we had what looked like a busload of people from outside this area show up. This are the ones that we figured were likely on a bus coming down from the capital city. The same time they showed up, that is when the people running the protest showed up. Now, this guy here, yellow jacket and the alpine hat, he was the organizer. He was the one in charge. Under him, he had 3 groups of people that we could identify. There was between 2 to 4 in yellow vests like this with radios and earpieces concealing their faces. These are the ones I was referring to as cadence callers. They were coordinating over the radio as to what the cadence should be, what people should be chanting, so that everyone chanted the same thing at the same time. These cadence callers would also get after the people sitting in their lawn chairs too long or were not looking enthusiastic enough to get them out of their chair and, make themselves look like they were active. Now, you also had nearby the organizer pretty much through the whole thing, this kid here who looked like he was in his early 20s. I referred to him on the radio as Flag Faggot. Flag Faggot here had a No Kings flag. Now, when a particular area looked like they were just dipping down a little too much in the enthusiasm, the organizer sent him over there. He would start waving that flag and he would start yelling, trying to stoke people up and stuff to be more active. Now, ones I did not put on here for showing pictures, there were also ones that I referred to as his lieutenants. It looked like there was 3 to 4 of them, 2 to 3 males and 1 very pudgy short female. More than once I seen them meet up with him behind the main part of the protest here, trying to make sure that they were, kind of hidden. And they were basically reporting to him. He was literally pointing out to them where they should go, things they should do. Now, these lieutenants, they were not wearing anything that was highly visible. They had smaller signs, but they still had signs so they could say they were protesters. They were not concerned with what was going on the road. His lieutenants were basically there as the enforcers. They were the ones that were primarily looking behind the protests, looking to see if the cops would show up, if any type of threat would show up, or someone would start doing something they weren't supposed to do. Of them, 2 of them looked like senior citizens, and the female did not. She looked to maybe be in her 40s. So I think I seen one other guy that looked to be in his mid 30s to mid 40s was one of the lieutenants also. Now, this protest occupied one of the main intersections inside this community. They were on all 4 corners. I just talked to some of the people that live near that intersection. They were a few blocks away, but they could see the protest and that stuff. They said it was nowhere near enthusiastic as the previous. Not at all. So they said, in comparison, it was a joke. We're looking at maybe around 100 people tops showed up to this protest, with most of them having come in from outside the area, likely on a bus. Now, I did find out, looking online, this particular protest, it happened before the others. Now, once I started looking at the times on the different protests, it looks to me like what happened. You had this bus come down from the capital city to this location, the earliest protest, and then when this ended, a half hour later, another protest would start at a nearby city. When that one would end, then the next one would start a half hour after that. And it basically is going to go like that through the evening, working their way back from this far point back to the capital city again. So, Astroturf, basically. People coming in from the outside, making it look like it's the locals rising up, you know, oh, look at how many people showed up. Literally half of them at this protest were not from this area. And the ones that were from this area, seriously, these are the most useless fucking people. If you seen these people, you would say that. Now, near the end of this protest, I kicked the hornet's nest on purpose. And I let people know I was about to do it. So, near the end of the protest time, I yelled out louder than they were doing in their yelling and chanting. I yelled out, "Deport all illegals now, Trump 2028. That really got them stoked up. You had people all of a sudden, you know, yelling out, abolish ICE and free speech, and all that crap as I walked off. Now, as I walked off, I made sure my pepper spray was ready to go if need be inside my pocket and had my hand on the can. Got to my vehicle. When I got to my vehicle, I stayed out of my vehicle, pulled out my camera to get pictures of this guy. This guy, he tried finding out where I was. He was trying to find out what's going on. Someone must have pointed him out to me, so he started walking to me. And while he was walking up, I got some pretty good pictures of his face, which is now being sent out to different militias in this state, along with pictures of some of the other people involved with the protest, their little staff. Now, I did deliberately, nice and slowly get in my vehicle, and he got up there and he asked me what my problem was. I told him, oh, I'm a military veteran, and I'll be damned if I see the country get taken over by communists. And I asked him, are you the organizer? And before he could say anything, which he really didn't confirm or deny, I put the camera right in his face, took a picture. And by this point, he had a few others that were coming up from the protest. And I told the guy as I was driving off, thank you for outing yourself to the militias in this state, as I drove away with a huge smile on my face. I have no doubt that they got a picture of my license plate and they're trying to find where I am and stuff. And you know what? I got a little response to that one. So, you know, protests, you little protesters, you want to come out here fuck with me? I'm bored. I got to find something to fill the time while I'm still waiting to start a new job. Go ahead. The garden could use some new fertilizer. So, there you go. We got some basic intel for you on how these protests are being organized. You got one person in charge. You have a team that is in vests with radios. These are the ones that are getting the people stoked up and stuff as best they can, calling out the cadences. You have someone, at least one person, walking around with a flag who's supposed to be, you know, the one that's supposed to get everyone stoked up, enthusiastic. And then you have underneath this guy here a group that is plain clothes, that is the enforcers, the lieutenants, the ones that are giving the orders when he is not around. These people here were reporting to those lieutenants whenever he wasn't in that location, whenever that organizer wasn't there. So there you go. Let's see how these protests turn out, especially as it gets dark later. Now, for all my engineer brothers and Patriot militia movements, always remember, essay ons.